Las Vegas didn't arrive at this version of itself by accident. It's easy to blame inflation, call it a slump, and move on. But what's happening in Las Vegas feels different from prices went up everywhere. Because in Vegas, the price increases aren't just higher. They're structured differently. They're layered. They're engineered to change who comes, how long they stay, and what kind of trip they're willing to tolerate. And in early 2026, that design is starting to show its cost. If you've been to Las Vegas recently, you probably felt it before you could explain it. The city still looks like Las Vegas. The lights are still on. The towers still glow. The strip still sells the same promise. But the moment you try to actually do the trip, the bill starts appearing in pieces, and those pieces don't feel like vacation spending. They feel like penalties for participating. You book the room, and the room price isn't the room price. There is a resort fee that shows up later. There is a charge for parking. There is a fee for checking in early, sometimes even a fee that feels like it exists because they can charge it. The same trip that used to feel like let's just go now feels like a negotiation with a city that is daring you to quit. And plenty of people are quitting. Not loudly, not with headlines, quietly. Shorter stays, fewer return trips, fewer impulse upgrades, fewer let's grab one more drink. People still come, but they behave differently once they arrive because they don't feel welcomed. They feel harvested. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when a place stops treating the middle of the market as its foundation and starts treating it as clutter. For a long time, Vegas was a volume machine. It did not need every visitor to be rich. It needed them to be present. It needed bodies in the hallways, noise on the casino floors, crowds on the sidewalks, and a constant flow of people doing small, irrational, happy spending, exactly the kind of spending that adds up when millions of people do it. But a different model took over. The language became corporate. Premium guests, higher value, upscale repositioning. The idea was simple. Fewer people, more money. Instead of selling Vegas as a shared experience, it would become a gated one. The middle class would not be the heartbeat of the strip anymore. They would be something to filter out. That is the core story. Vegas did not just get more expensive. Vegas changed who it is for. And the reason this matters is that Vegas isn't a normal city. It's an atmosphere city. It runs on density. It runs on energy. It runs on the feeling that anything could happen, because there are enough people in the room for randomness to feel real. When you remove the crowd, you don't get a calmer Vegas, you get a hollow one. The most important thing to understand is that high rollers don't create atmosphere, they amplify it. They need the roar. They need the sense of being in the center of something alive. A luxury casino floor without crowds doesn't feel exclusive. It feels empty. It feels like a showroom where everyone is waiting for someone richer to enter. So when Vegas tries to replace the crowd with whales, it's not just changing its customer base. It's weakening the very thing that makes whales want to show up. This is the part most people miss. A city can price itself upward and still lose the product it sells. Vegas doesn't sell rooms or drinks. It sells energy. It sells the myth that you have stepped into a world that runs on impulse and spectacle. When everything becomes transactional, when every step feels like a fee, the myth breaks. That break is showing up in the numbers and on the ground. Visitor totals have softened in multiple recent periods compared with prior years. In plain terms, fewer people. Not zero, not empty, but less than the machine expects. And the machine is built for massive throughput. A hotel tower does not need pretty good occupancy. It needs relentless volume to justify the staffing, the maintenance, the upgrades, the debt, the advertising, the never-ending churn of keeping the strip looking new. And when volume weakens, Vegas doesn't respond by lowering prices. It responds by raising them, because the model has already chosen its direction. The city becomes more dependent on extracting more from each remaining visitor. That creates a feedback loop. Higher costs drive away more regular visitors. Fewer regular visitors reduce energy. Reduced energy makes the trip feel less worth it. Less worth it means fewer return trips. In a normal destination, that might simply mean a slower season. In Vegas, it changes the soul of the experience. There is also the physical change. Vegas used to understand the power of free spectacle. The city offered moments that did not require spending, because those moments created traffic, and traffic created spending later. People would gather, linger, wander, and eventually gamble or eat or buy a show ticket, because the city made it easy to stay in motion. Now more spaces feel designed to push you through. Attractions that once served as public magnets are replaced by polished, monetized environments that feel less like an invitation and more like a funnel. Even if the new structures are expensive and impressive, they do not necessarily replace what was lost. The shared crowd moment, the everyone stops and watches feeling. When those shared moments disappear, the Strip becomes a corridor of transactions. And transactions are not what people dreamed of when they imagined Vegas. The workers notice the shift before anyone else does. They don't need tourism reports. They feel the floor. They feel the pacing of the room. They feel whether people are lingering or rushing, whether they're laughing or calculating, whether they're tipping like they're on vacation or tipping like they're covering a bill they didn't expect. When trips get more expensive in a way that feels hostile, guests tighten up. They tip less. They stop ordering extras. They choose the cheaper option, not because they're broke, but because they're irritated. That irritability infects the experience. The city becomes colder, not because workers are worse, but because a stressed guest creates a stressed environment. And when the environment becomes stressed, the magic evaporates. There's another quiet shift happening too. People are learning they can get the same dopamine elsewhere. For decades, Vegas owned the idea of gambling as a destination. Now gambling is a button on a phone. Sports betting is everywhere. Online casinos exist. The exclusive thing Vegas sold, chance and risk and late-night thrill, is no longer geographically locked. So Vegas had two options: create a new reason to visit that still welcomed the middle, or double down on exclusivity and charge higher prices for a smaller audience. It chose the second path. That choice isn't just greed, it's also defensive. If younger travelers don't dream about Vegas the way older generations did, you can try to win them back with affordability and novelty, or you can accept the shrinking base and squeeze it. Squeezing looks good in quarterly reports. It looks like strength. But it carries a hidden cost. It trains people to stop trusting the deal. And once people stop trusting the deal, the city can't rely on spontaneous spending anymore. It has to force it. Forced spending feels like a trap. Traps don't create loyalty. That's why competition matters more now. When Vegas was the obvious choice, it didn't need to worry about alternatives. But now travelers compare. They look at what a weekend in Vegas costs after fees and surcharges, and then they look at what the same money buys somewhere else. And in 2026, the list of alternatives is bigger than most people think. Other gambling destinations market affordability. Resort towns sell all-inclusive simplicity. International trips sometimes come out cheaper than a strip weekend once you account for the full cost. Even regional destinations can compete if they offer the one thing Vegas is quietly losing, a sense that you're not being punished for showing up. And that raises the real question: what happens to Vegas if it becomes just another premium destination? Vegas was never meant to be just premium. Vegas was meant to be unique. It was meant to be the one place where excess felt accessible, where you could be ordinary and still feel like you stepped into a different world for a couple of nights. When that accessibility disappears, Vegas doesn't become more elite, it becomes more replaceable. You can see hints of this in how behavior is redistributing. Off-strip venues and local casinos sometimes benefit because they still understand the volume principle. They still want the regular crowd. They still build their model around participation rather than exclusion. A packed room of everyday players can be more valuable than an empty palace waiting for a millionaire, because packed rooms generate their own momentum. Momentum is a real economic force in Vegas. It is not just vibe. Vibe drives dwell time. Dwell time drives spending. Spending drives tips. Tips keep staff. Staff keeps service quality. Service quality keeps people feeling good. Feeling good keeps people staying longer. Break the chain anywhere, and the city does not collapse. It thins. And thinning is what makes a place feel eerie. Not dead, just off. The scary part for Vegas is not what if it dies. The scary part is what if it survives as a quieter version of itself, because the strategy keeps pushing in the same direction. Picture the Strip like a stadium. The luxury suites are occupied. The branding is immaculate. The VIP entrances are polished. But the seats that used to be filled by regular fans are half empty. How long do the VIPs keep paying top dollar to sit in a room without the roar? That is the risk of designing a crowd-driven city around exclusion. And the consequences do not stay on the Strip. Vegas is Nevada's economic engine. Room taxes and tourism revenue support budgets that reach far beyond casino walls. When the tourism base softens, the effects show up slowly. Cautious forecasting, delayed projects, budget tightening. In early 2026, that kind of cautious posture matters because it signals something. Officials do not believe the trend is purely temporary. So what happens next? This is where a lot of commentary goes wrong. People either promise a collapse or dismiss everything as overreaction. The truth is more unsettling because it is slower. Vegas does not need to collapse to lose what made it work. It just needs to continue training people that the trip is not worth the squeeze. And that training is already happening. Once someone feels burned by hidden fees, they remember it. Once someone feels the city is extracting rather than entertaining, they change their habits. And once habits change, Vegas cannot simply market its way back. It has to rebuild trust. It has to rebuild the deal. But rebuilding the deal means reversing the design. It means choosing volume again. It means making participation feel possible again. It means accepting that the crowd is not low end, the crowd is the product. Because Vegas does not run on money, it runs on people. And if you redesign a city to filter people out, you might still get higher prices and cleaner branding and private experiences that look good online. But you also risk ending up with the one thing Vegas cannot afford: silence.